Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another week of Overwatch here in League Zero Overwatch. Have we got a treat for you tonight? We are going to see the two 3-1 teams of the Novice Division, Wisdom Academy and Rio Redemption, facing off against each other in this penultimate week of our season. And Intel, I gotta tell you, I'm very excited for tonight's match.
I am immensely excited as well. For those of you who have been sticking into the Rio and Wisdom kind of fight during this arc, last time they went up against each other, Rio Redemption managed to bring it out in a convincing 3-0. However, Wisdom Academy did not have the majority of their players, and so some can claim that they weren't looking as strong as they would. However, that does not bring the fact that right now, Rio Redemption are the number one team, aside from losing to Geometric a while back. So both of these teams are looking to make it right and make it sure that they can kind of end things up, you know?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The both these teams sitting at 3-1 with Rio holding the higher map differential. You look at Wisdom's loss to Rio and you say, okay, well, kind of expected, missing half of the roster. Rio is arguably the strongest team in the novice division right now, and Rio dropping to the bottom seeded team right now of Geometric dropping their only loss. So at this point, it's kind of not so much a fight of which one of us is going to come out on top of the team. It's more of which one of us is going to be rolling into the final week of the season with momentum. And I honestly, that's all I see. What it is right here is that momentum control battle. Whoever takes this, they're both going in to the playoffs for the season and in the winners bracket. So it's just which one of us is going to pull the momentum.
Yeah. And Wisdom Academy, they've definitely been strong in the idea that they've been strong is not only because they have such a kind of convincing coaching roster, but is more than likely because of the fact that they have a really good team up. They have Spongy Cheese, who is debatably one of the best hit scans in the league. Roxcraft, who is also an amazing off tank. Gag, while on the other hand, RQT, Sam, TIE Fighter, while they aren't considered one of the best, they are considered very well, and Rio Redemption have just been working amazing.
Oh, absolutely. There's something to be said about the struggles that Wisdom Academy have had to go through, but they've turned it around since the last time these two teams have met. Rio Redemption, rather, sorry, they've done nothing but look dominant this whole season, in my opinion, and it's really going to be they're going to be the favorites going into this. Wisdom is definitely going to be seeing an uphill battle.
I can definitely see what you is Nepal. And Nepal is one of those maps that, as again, I always say, control is not the best that you can set things up. It's just kind of a momentum starter. Well, what makes Nepal so great is that it's a very heavily brawl map until you get to one specific point and there's a giant well, and then you could just start booping each other around. And, it brings in that variation. But more than anything, this is a kind of map that people who prefer the brawl compositions can focus on.
Oh yes, absolutely, and that as you were talking about that big well, we can start booping everyone in. Kind of keeps everybody on their toes, and that like, all right, well, is somebody going to pull out some weird Lucio Ball sort of composition here, trying to just only go for the environmental kills, or do we need to keep our eyes open for that brawl? It's really that question mark that gets thrown into things. So it's definitely going to be, no matter where we go on Nepal, going to be an exciting matchup for sure.
Oh, it definitely is. The kind of thing I'm looking out for is, will Rio finally prove that they are better than Wisdom Academy, or will Wisdom Academy finally tell people, stop sleeping on us? Because I don't know about you, but a lot of people tend to look at Wisdom Academy and they don't see them as a great team. They kind of underrate them or underrate their players, and that's mostly because a lot of people have a bias towards the marsupial branding, which, hey, all fairity, it's perfectly fine, but you cannot deny these players' talents and their abilities to play this game at a decent level, especially for novice. Sometimes they make very obvious mistakes that would make Hedwig kind of blow his head, but still, they're doing fairly amazing.
They're doing, yeah, they're putting in the work. There's a lot of talent on this roster, a lot of up and coming stars. I mean, the team as a whole is just doing an amazing job this season. And looking at, like I mentioned earlier, the map differential, only a two map difference between these two teams. So that could easily be flipped on its head if Wisdom Academy manages to pull out a 3-0 sweep. They'll be going back on top. But even if they somehow manage to pull out the win, they'll still have the lower map differential, which might not mean too much going into the playoffs. But it still could be argued, if that does become the case, that Rio could say, hey, you got a lot of talent, you got a lot of good roster, and we still managed to squash that down. So It's ours. So it really, that's, I mean, it's just kind of like you said, they kind of get written off sometimes. I admit I definitely did it at least once in one match that they were going up against. Last week when they went up against Geo, I was all for Geo because they were riding that momentum off of defeating Rio, and they Wisdom just planted their feet, held strong, and said, "No, we are a force to be reckoned with," and they've absolutely proven that so far.
I I would be lying if I wasn't there saying that at times I've looked down on Wisdom Academy, but they're here and more than likely they are prepared. While we are waiting for the R's, what are you really expecting coming out of Rio Redemption? This isn't really kind of a game that they need to win. Obviously, we've talked about this. Both teams are ready to go into playoffs as we are nearing kind of the end of the season for the Novice Division. And there's only 4 teams, so it's going to be in its own type of bracket where it's not really worried because you've already fought these teams several times. So going into Nepal really, and what are you expecting out of both of these teams, but more specifically Rio?
For Rio, honestly, what I'm expecting out of Rio is sort of the star wall defense. I can't even speak anymore. I'm just so excited for this match. I'm expecting them to basically come out and just defensive posture. Like we are going to establish our dominance, establish our foothold, and let Wisdom basically smash their faces into us. With Wisdom, on the other hand, I expect them to kind of not necessarily go for that full-on offensive style that Rio is probably going to be anticipating. I expect them to be pulling out a couple of wild cards, enough to throw them off per se, but not enough to really kind of deviate from the norm and put themselves in jeopardy.
Yeah, I definitely see what you mean. So as they go into the map, specifically both of these teams are switching up what type of composition they want to run. But more importantly, it revolves around that Symmetra. While we do see these teams want to come out, it's all about Brawl and who gets there first, setting up and getting prepared.
Here we go, the team's meeting up on the point, the Symmetra turrets going down, the Mei walls creating a nice little death brawl, and there we go, we've got 2 picks rolling through, Spongy Cheese and Rockcraft Spine, Polar and Gordo. Polar's turrets answering back doing some work, but that's a quick first fight already over. The point is going to be unlocking in just a moment, and it is going to be headed in favor of, oh boy, what is it? There it is.
Yeah,
it's unlocked.
Wisdom Academy being able to bring that out, they kind of just got to the point. And Sergeant Pepper got an amazing wall. LOS is Gordo, and they're able to start getting value off that. And this is hard because the recontest relies on them not only getting a good Mei wall, but using those sim abilities to their advantage. And Polar does have a higher ult percentage, so it kind of helps out either way.
Here we go, engaging over here on the side. Polar indeed pulling up that big wall about to come out. A big pick of Spongy Cheese onto Gordo as Polar throws out the wall, but it's too little too late. But it's actually not, Polar says, as he's taking down Peacock, evening up, trading the Reinhardt's TIE Fighter, getting demeched out of that process. The point, however, still going the way of Wisdom Academy, that percentage ticking up as the DPS of Rio Redemption finding the eliminations. Rockcraft's going to eliminate TIE Fighter, though, as Baby Diva goes down. An amplification matrix coming out courtesy of Senile Apple, trying to see what he can do with that. A big self-destruct coming out from Rockcraft, finding him though. The point still being held by Wisdom Academy. Rio Redemption is doing what they can to push in, but is it going to be enough? We don't really see it working out. Gag dropping the sound barrier to keep his team up, and it's too little too late as Peacock falls down, followed not long after by Rockcraft's absolutely massive shatter coming down from Gordo, just annihilating the members of Wisdom Academy, and that is going to be the point flipping over to Rio Redemption for the first time in this round.
Wisdom Academy had an opportunity to finish that out or really end it, but I really don't think they could have. The old economy and just the ideas around it were not in their favor, but at least they managed to not only get Gordo's shatter out, but the initial window. However, they didn't really build up the ultimates that they wanted to, rather giving it to Rio Redemption for their defense. That point may be at 63% for Wisdom Academy, but there's not really anything besides that they have in their favor, especially Polar's window, which will cause the fight to play in a very weird angle.
Oh, Polar throwing out the big symmetrical wall, cutting the point in half as Wisdom Academy pushes in, trying to establish a foothold. They're just sitting on the other side of that wall right now. There's not really much they could do against that. It's basically natural cover at this point. It goes down as the teams re-engage in the fight. The Blizzard coming out courtesy of Sergeant Pepper, as Sam Knight drops the sound barrier to keep his team up. Spongy Cheese, however, getting the elimination onto RQT. Polar taking down Skylar. Rio Redemption is going through, getting the eliminations that they need. Reinhardt's going for a swim over there, but Down goes Peacock, and it looks like this point might stay on to Rio Redemption, but however, the Divas and Lucio staying on point, keeping it out in this mirror match 2-on-2. Oh, Rockcraft's getting DMX. TIE Fighter is going to do what he can to try and get that elimination. So far, he's not really finding it, and the members of Rio Redemption are making it back onto the point. The Symmetra turrets begin doing some work, eating into Gag, as Rockcrafts goes down from TIE Fighter. Rio Redemption holding on to this point, and we're in maybe 2-fight territory for Wisdom.
Somewhat. That was kind of a miscommunication, it seemed, on Wisdom Academy. They almost won it out, but the fact that Gag died really early in the fight and Sam had to use the sound barrier meant that they had a lot more sustain in comparison. So it's really kind of in their favor and more of a worrying sight when it comes to Wisdom.
Oh, big Symmetra wall coming up from Spongy Cheese. The Senile Apple drops the amplification matrix. A self-destruct from Rockcrafts doesn't find anyone, but a self-destruct from TIE Fighter finds Spongy Cheese as they begin to remake. Another Symmetra wall coming out from Polar, just cutting the point in half, giving his team so much room to work with. Oh, Sergeant Pepper's isolated out from the other members of his team, as he does manage to find the pick onto Polar, though. We're entering overtime. The timer is ticking down. Rio Redemption is still holding the point. They might be able to hold on to it and take the round. Rockcrafts is putting up a valiant defense on point, flying around, using that natural cover. Spongy Cheese making it back to help out his tank, but it's not going to be enough as he gets DMX'd. Taking down Spongy Cheese is RQT with that swap over onto Doofus. Wisdom Academy swapping to the quick stall characters to get back on point, and the point gets secured by Rio.
My goodness, Wisdom Academy, they looked like they had opportunities and moments, but the main issue that cost them was their initiations and kind of staying together. A lot of those times, I don't know if you noticed, but we saw Wisdom Academy splits, especially Sergeant Peppers, and that cost them a lot when it came to those fights. More often than not, it was really just RQT or TIE Fighter just staying alive, stacked on each other, and getting that defense, and that's what's going to cost you more often than not. So, if they want to be going up against this Brawl composition, they're running out with a Shadow Dive variant, so they have more than enough room to kind of shut that down, but it's a matter of if you're going to stay together and focus them out like you should be doing.
We'll see if Wisdom Academy can kind of get their bearings back together right over here in the next round. We got the big well on the side. I wonder if we're going to be seeing any boops like you've called out to two teams engaging over here on the right side above the pit. A Tracer Reaper combo for Wisdom going up against a McCree May for Rio Redemption. So we're not seeing a mirror composition this time. The tank line also being mixed up. Immortality field going down from Senile Apple being eliminated by Rockcrafts. RQT removes Peacock and Sam Knight getting the environmental, and a follow-up on the Spongy Cheese. Polar dropping Sergeant Pepper, and Rio Redemption is definitely going to be taking this first point. It's just a matter of cleaning everybody up. There goes Rockcrafts out of the mech and sending himself into the drink courtesy, nope, not courtesy of himself. Sam Knight going to be taking that from him. The point's unlocked for Rio.
That is a new level of just kind of disrespect that Sam is able to get that boop on them when their entire competition is about playing inside of them and being able to shut them down. Sam just says, no, you're going to come inside of us, I'm going to boop you away. That's going to be a major issue. So now they have this window and that amazing Maywall to start poking them down.
Just sandwiching the enemy team right in between the window and the wall. Gordo taking down Skylar, and they're pushing out. Gordo finding another on P-back. Oh, but Polar sends out that Deadeye. Doesn't manage to find anything with it, but Gordo's Shatter gets a little bit of value, lets him set up to help Spongy Cheese get the elimination onto TIE Fighter. Gordo taking down Rockcrafts, RQT taking down Spongy Cheese and Sergeant Pepper, with Polar eliminating Gag. That is his next fight down. Rio Redemption still holding on strong. Ultimate Economy certainly in their favor.
Impressed when it comes to RQT. I feel like his walls have just been continuously being able to deny not only Wisdom Academy, but enable his own team to start shutting people down. So when it comes into these fights, they're having issues trying to move in, and that Pulse Bomb, wow, baits out the Immortality, they're gonna need a bit more.
Inhuman reactions from Senile Apple dropping that Immortality field. The sound barrier being dropped by Sam Knight sets up RQT's Blizzard as Gag drops his own sound barrier to keep his team alive. And it's going to be working out so far. Spongy Cheese and Skylar get eliminations. Rockcrafts following up with that self-destruct. Gordo being dropped by the Reaper. And here we go. They're rushing onto the point with this dive composition. Rockcrafts sending TIE Fighter into the hole. The point swapping here of 75% of Rio Redemption. Wisdom is going to have to dig their heels into the dirt here and hold on for the ride of their lives.
At this moment, it's all about how they use their abilities comparably to Rio Redemption. They don't really have their support ults, but that Death Blossom can help end out the fight, so shutting down not only TIE Fighter, but Polar is a big must. However, they're trapped.
They're trapped, and Spongy Cheese sends out the Death Blossom, finding the Immortality field and Senile Apple. Then following up on RQT, TIE Fighter just sending himself over the edge because he knows this fight is lost. Spongy Cheese absolutely shutting down that push on his own, but that's leaving the Ultimate Economy in favor of Rio Redemption. I think we might be seeing a point flip here on the next fight.
I definitely agree. Rio Redemption have about 4 ultimates, while Wisdom Academy are relying solely on Skylar's Coalescence, but they don't really have a shield outside of the bubble, so once it's gone, the Shatter's opened.
Shield down, wall down, Spongy Cheese taking down TIE Fighter before the D-Mech. However, it does eliminate Rockcraft's mech, so we've got 2 Baby Divas in the mix. Scratch that, we have no Baby Divas in the mix as Gordo goes on a swinging frenzy, eliminating 4 of the members of Wisdom Academy. Gag managing to stop his rampage, but that is not going to stop them from taking the point as Sam Knight moves on to begin the capture process. Gag being dropped by Polar. Wisdom Academy losing that fight and entering one-fight territory right here.
I'm gonna be honest with you, he tried, he wanted to get a boop, they could possibly recontest from that, but Gordo's Reinhardt is just so powerful being able to just walk inside them that if you're not hacking because you don't have the Sombra, then you're not really denying them anything, and it's all about playing. So RQT's Blizzard is by far the strongest ult right now, and it's a good condition for them.
RQT throwing up that wall, forcing the members of Wisdom Academy out of a single choke point, letting the members of Rio just fish in a barrel. The Blizzard comes down with an Immortality Field as the members of Wisdom Academy begin to fall. Spongy Cheese putting up a valiant effort, taking the elimination onto Polar, and then following up on Senile Apple. Gag dropping that sound barrier to keep his team in the fight. Spongy Cheese is doing what he can along with Sergeant Pepper. Sam Knight dropping the sound barrier of his own, and it allows Gordo to get the elimination onto Spongy Cheese. They are just swinging away right here. Rio Redemption in full control of this point. P-Box swapping onto the ball to get back and stall. Polar finding the mirror kill onto Sergeant Pepper. P-Box just rolling around trying to do everything that he can to send people into the drink. And a big self-destruct goes up from Rockcrafts. Doesn't find any value, but it does manage to zone the members of Rio Redemption off of the point. We're now entering a full brawl. Nobody's really getting any picks here. And Polar finding Skylar, Rockcrafts demeching TIE Fighter. Gordo just squishing Spongy Cheese up against the wall. This is certainly the longest drawn-out overtime fight I have seen since I have started here with League Zero. Gordo just asking the members of Wisdom Academy, would you like to see my muscles, as he just begins to swing through the team, finding elimination after elimination, and the point unlocks. Rio Redemption are going to be taking round 1 on Nepal.
My goodness, all about coordination and focus, but also just a major issue on the side of Wisdom Academy not being able to use their ult economy in their favor, costing them more than just the map. It's going to be giving Rio the lead as they take the point advantage within the series. And honestly, I gotta say, it's pretty interesting so far. While these teams feel somewhat even, the decisiveness and ideas coming out of Rio Redemption is what's giving them kind of the edge over Wisdom Academy.
Absolutely, and now that they've taken this first map, this control point, it is, honestly, for all intents and purposes, as you said, a momentum builder. The entirety of the momentum is on the side of Rio Redemption now. Wisdom Academy already, as I said earlier, looking at an uphill battle coming into this match, but now it is just going to be, you know, an even steeper incline that they are going to have to climb their way up. They do get choice of the next map pick, though, so they will be able to try to swing things back in their favor, but Rio just looking absolutely dominant, absolutely much more coordinated, and how do you stop a raging barbarian that is Gordo? I mean, I don't even know if you can at that point.
I mean, it is fair. I've always kind of lowered Gordo when it comes to these ideas, and that's mostly because I don't think he's by far a really great main tank. I think he definitely gets the job done, but when it comes to the teams and kind of these fights, he's not really the type of guy I would expect to really finish them out. And really, he gets those picks because it's just so powerful being Reinhardt into those type of compositions. So honestly, I apologize, Gordo, for ever rating you so low. I definitely think you've improved a lot, but still, I need to see a bit more coming out of you, especially because our next map is going to be Hollywood, and Hollywood is something very interesting. I don't know about you.
Hollywood, I mean, it's a hit and miss for me. Sometimes it's one of my favorite maps to play on. Sometimes it's one of my most hated maps to play on, but it is absolutely, without a doubt, always a treat of a map to watch.
I've actually never lost a game of Hollywood. Ever. Hollywood has always become my favorite map solely because of that meme of just I've never lost, and ironically enough, I very rarely lost Hollywood games competing or in comp, and that's just given me a good momentum of luck. So I think coming out into Hollywood, it's an idea of how do you want to play this game. Definitely can go double bubble, any form of dive, which is immensely powerful. And Brawl isn't really strong in comparison, I kind of want to say, because of mostly the fact of just how many high grounds there are, it's really easy to start jumping around and start messing with the enemy team to where Brawl doesn't get the reach and advantage as they want. As well, there seems to be just kind of an issue when it comes to B-Patch just being able to play with the support, so I feel him kind of moving away, not being able to bunker down with them is going to end up costing them more than what they think, especially with Rockstrap, who seems just to be going out for these kind of diva remake kills more. I don't know about you, but we've seen it. I saw it a couple bunch. Every time he remechs, he's mostly going for kind of a kill. Which, I mean, hey, that's fine. Does a lot of damage, but it doesn't really cost them too much, but it may cost them more in the future.
It is certainly the sort of high risk, high reward play style that we've come to see from Rockcrafts. You know, when it works, and when it doesn't, the rest of your team is just staring at you like, really? Did you have to do that? And it all just kind of really depends on, I think, the defenders set the pace of the fight here. As you said, Brawl not as strong as the dive comps or the rush comps on this sort of map, and I do agree on the first point, the capture point. You can get a little bit of value out of Brawl because the high grounds are close enough that with that Lucio you can get in, kind of get the damage out that you need. But after that, once you're escorting the payload, if you're not a defender, you honestly just need to take all of your Brawl compositions and throw them into the dumpster and just reevaluate everything right there. We are seeing a substitution come through on the side of Wisdom Academy as Titanic is swapping in for Skylar. So, what do you think we could expect to see now that we have Titanic in the mix with that a difference in hero pool? Maybe a different strategy, perhaps?
Oh, 1 billion%. Titanic, I've always talked about this because it still impresses me. This guy came from playing Flex DPS, professionally known for his Pharah and Flex DPS. He's very great at it, and decided when it comes into this season, he wanted to just play Flex support. He wanted to play some Ana, and that's really what we've seen him shine a lot more on. He likes to be able to take these angles. He's able to hit those shots, and I fairly think that while he may not, personally, me, I don't think he has a novice level kind of support. I think he plays kind of a little bit better than most of them. He's definitely rated higher for me, at least. I think this comes into them either wanting to playing a pure bunker composition on a double shield because Titanic can play that Baptiste and get a sizable amount of damage, but or they want to run out on that double bubble because he can definitely play that Ana, and he's amazing when it comes to being able to sleep targets. So that's the idea they want to go to. This encourages more aggression, and maybe I just haven't seen as much Skylar being in not only the kill feed, but enabling his team to kind of take those shots or moments of being able to push in. But that's kind of my idea when it comes to Titanic. Comparably, when Sam has just been kind of, I think, somewhat kind of overbearing Gag during these fights. He's definitely been taking those initiatives comparably than Gag.
Oh, absolutely. And with one thing that you mentioned on Titanic, moving over from that flex DPS role over to this flex support role, that already speaks volumes to the accuracy that he can deliver. But we've seen Titanic on his Ana delivering all different sorts of nano boosts. We've seen, the defensive nano boost that he manages to just almost on a dime, just 180 flip around, nano the target who's about to go down. That damage boost keeping them in the fight. We've seen the tempo nanos coming out from him where it's like, oh, I've got a nano here, you can have that, get your ultimate up. We've seen the combo nanos where he's just enabling everybody on his team, whether it's a DPS or a tank. And, it's kind of like you said, like Skylar, especially looking at that last map, Skylar, I saw plenty of healing coming out from Skylar, that definitely doing everything that he could to keep his team alive, but the kill feed just, was the enable really there? More often than not, I have to side on the side of no. Whereas with Senile Apple and Sam Knight, I didn't see a single supportive ultimate or ability coming out from one of those two that didn't hit the mark. To put it kind of bluntly.
Yeah, like,
So
I definitely get what you mean. I feel like they had moments where it was like, oh, that might work, but then it would fall flat. It didn't enable the team to do what they wanted to do half the time, and it really cost them at moments.
Initiating match.
So we're gonna have to see where this goes from here. We are ready. We are going to be rolling in with Rio Redemption attacking first on Hollywood.
I really still love Hollywood, but more importantly, I really want to see what these teams come out with. We don't often see a bit out of the standard. We talked a bit about this. It's specifically double bubble or dive, and that's what we're seeing these teams run out on. More specifically, the attack. They want to kind of play this Sombra dive composition, which isn't too bad. It's fairly good, especially with RQT out on the Echo. It does a lot of burst damage, but I'm more confused about why Wisdom Academy would run around on Brawl. I don't think Brawl is very much the strongest when it comes to this Hollywood point. I still think it works, but there are a lot of issues, and I think that dive comparatively just is better, or kind of the double bubbles. So I think while it encourages them being able to play together and faster, it may hurt them in the long run.
Wisdom Academy might be of the mindset that Rio Redemption is going to be smashing their face into their shields, sort of like what I had said before map 1, and they are going to be in for a rude awakening here as the doors open and the dive composition from Rio Redemption is going to roll out. Polar going ahead, scouting in, going back onto spawn. Are we going to see a swap? Yes, we are, pulling out the McCree over the Sombra. It looks like the entirety of Rio Redemption is going to be going back and swapping up their composition. RQT over onto the Mei, Gordo onto the Reinhardt. They are ready to go in with a mirror composition at this point, so we are going to see some brawls here on point A. Poke phase initiating. Sergeant Pepper moving in with the wall. Just setting up P-Box to get that kill onto Polar. I couldn't believe my eyes with what I was seeing. The immortality fields are coming down as the members of Wisdom Academy are just finding elimination after elimination, with Rockcrafts finding Gordo, TIE Fighter fighting back against Titanic, with Spongy Cheese taking down Senile Apple, and Wisdom Academy holding on strong, sending Rio back to spawn.
That was a little bit bigger than you expect, because now the Titanic is going to be coming in late, and they have such a close respawn, they're going to be able to start coming back. But what cost them that fight for Rio Redemption was they kind of just brain dead after they got walled, and then Polar gets killed by Spongy because he just goes a little too close. So now, while they wait for the Baptiste to come back, this is now a close quarters combat area.
And it certainly is going to be, as they use these two hallways to engage, with an immortality field coming down from Senile Apple. TIE Fighter getting demeched in the process from Gag. P-Box throwing out that Earth Shatter and getting blocked by Gordo with that big shield. No eliminations being found until Spongy Cheese finds a TIE Fighter at the back. Senile Apple dropping that amplification matrix, but it's not going to work as the team is going to be pushed back through it. RQT throwing out that Blizzard into the hallway, forcing the members of Wisdom out onto the point. Spongy Cheese managing to find Sam Knight, but the eliminations have put the match in full swing in favor of Rio Redemption. Oh, Sergeant Pepper just holding on, trying to get that ultimate. There it is. An immortality field coming down, saving Sergeant Pepper from Titanic as Gag drops the sound barrier. Rio Redemption are still trying to do what they can to capture the point. Big self-destruct from Rockcrafts as he answers against TIE Fighter and Polar's ultimates, both getting 2. The Reinhardt stunning each other on point. And there goes P-Bot getting down from RQT. The amplification matrix wearing off. Wisdom Academy is doing what they can to hold down. Is it going to work? The only members left from Rio Redemption are the Reinhardt and the Baptiste. Gordo being dropped by Spongy Cheese right after TIE Fighter. And there goes Senile Apple, and Wisdom Academy hold on. But Rio Redemption does get that permanent point progress.
My goodness, Wisdom Academy, that was an amazing kind of recontest in there. They definitely had a moment where they almost lost it, but it was about the fact that Titanic stayed alive, being able to not only heal his team, but he does a considerable amount of damage, especially with the window. RQT using the Blizzard really early in the fight kind of cost them, so now going in here, they're kind of struggling to go through that wall.
Spongy Cheese letting everybody know it is high noon, manages to find Gordo, but not with the ultimate, and that push is already over. Rio Redemption are going to be falling back and waiting for that Reinhardt as we enter 1 minute left.
So now the idea goes in is, how do you want to take this fight? They did get a tick due to those last areas, and they have about 4 ultimates, but you don't want to waste those all, especially if you win it, because then you're going into the next fight with a bit of a disadvantage. It's about who uses it first, and if any of the divas can kind of eat those abilities.
First Blizzard being thrown out from Sergeant Pepper. Sam Knight dropping the sound barrier to protect his team from the frigid cold as Titanic eliminates Polar for the first pick. RQT throwing in that Blizzard, trying to push in with his team, and it does manage to work. They are past the choke, moving in. Amplification matrix being thrown out by Senile Apple, being answered with Titanic's amplification matrix. Both teams getting that damage boost, allowing Gag to get the DMAC onto TIE Fighter. We're now in a little bit of a poke phase as both teams don't want to be in front of those windows, those damage boosts. Big wall coming down from both. Big shatter rather coming down from both teams. P-Bot not managing to find much, but Spongy Cheese still manages to get 2 picks allowing Wisdom Academy to hold on. Rockcraft throwing in a self-destruct is going to find anything. It is not. Polar finding 2 with the Deadeye, but it does not work because you have to touch the point.
Oh, that kind of hurts. I feel like Polar probably just felt so cool, like, 2 down, we got this. But then the time bank doesn't kick in. And honestly, I think Rio would have had it. But the main issue is they had no resources to walk in there. More specifically, Gordo had held up his shield, allowing the enemy team to kind of poke into it for a bit too long. So he loses his shield while P-Batch has a full shield. They had window. They had kind of the room there. It was just an unfortunate situation. But now, Wisdom Academy, they're looking a bit more dominant. They're looking like they're ready. These teams are in a full equal room. And I think Titanic was just what they needed, a bit more of an aggressive support that's able to hit those shots and stay alive comparably to Skylar, who I think is a bit more passive. So now they're going to be able to run out on whatever they want. And more specifically, it's going to be seeing like a teleporting pro, possibly? Who knows? But I'm more interested to see this dive. This is what I was talking about beforehand. And kind of what most people tend to do is because the dive's able to move around those high grounds, you're able to kind of disengage and set up. You give yourself more room to kind of brawl and play however you want. However, their brawl composition, especially with the Reaper, is going to be shutting down so much in these fights.
Oh, absolutely. Sergeant Pepper and Spongy Cheese are going to be just pouring out the damage in these fights. But as you had said, that high ground contestability from Rio Redemption is going to be astronomical as they have the ability to drop off and then re-engage. We're going to have to see what that does. But as you had said, again, Wisdom Academy looking dominant. This is their fight to lose as they approach this first point. Rio Redemption sitting up on that high ground, trying to put out a little bit of damage. Teleporter coming out from Sergeant Pepper, sending his team over the cafe, but it is broken. The team's looking like they're getting split. Sergeant Pepper being permanently put to sleep from Senile Apple. Wisdom Academy, though, still trying to engage. Nope, there it is. They're starting to back out after losing that Immortality field from RQT. There it is. Yep, that fight is over.
They're taking a weird kind of disengage to where the enemy team can still poke, and RQT is getting so much value right now. But the fact that they lose Sergeant Pepper and the TP didn't work cost them a lot because they weren't able to group in and they almost had a moment. However, it looks like they're still just barely being able to survive, especially that anti slowing them down. RQT is going to be the first one with a major ultimate besides Titanic's own window.
Titanic picking up that amplification matrix in a single fight, record time from those healers as it comes out, forcing the members of Rio Redemption off the point, allowing Wisdom in to start ticking up some process. RQT deciding to play dress up and become a diva, doing what he can to get some damage out. Gordo falls, but Sam Knight picks him right back up, puts him back in the fight. Sergeant Pepper's turrets and Spongy Cheese putting in the work. Wisdom Academy getting the eliminations, but Rio Redemption answering right back as Gordo gets angry, very angry. That's his secret cap, swinging around. RQT taking down T-Bok and Sergeant Pepper as the Death Blossom comes out from Spongy Cheese and Gag drops the sound barrier, trying to keep their team in this fight. Wisdom Academy have the numbers right now, but they are not being able to find the eliminations. And again, this seems to be a cast or curse for me. I'm speaking too soon as Spongy Cheese and Rockcrafts find those eliminations. Oh, big self-destruct being thrown out from Rockcrafts, signaling the end of round 2 with Wisdom Academy tying us up at 1-1.
My goodness, that really looked like it could have gone either way during that last type of fight, and I would have benefited off of the fact that they were coming back really quick. But just as I was going to talk about the players, this man, Titanic, put in so much work, not only with the healing, but a considerable amount of damage. He was not only putting pressure into the Reinhardt shield, but was able to shut down more often than not the people trying to flank him down. And that becomes an issue. They had an opportunity to take out Wisdom Academy, but Wisdom was just ready, and they were countering it kind of by putting him in. So, I think these teams right now are in a good, even spot. And we might go to a break for a bit, give these teams a bit of a moment to rest, but really, what are your comments and ideas that you saw from that?
Honestly, I want to know, is Titanic a bunch of weasels in a trench coat? Because the reaction time of the Immortality field that we saw in the play of the game was just unnatural. The speed that he has to be able to go from damage to healing to damage to healing to turning around and healing up somebody behind him that managed to catch a stray bullet is just ungodly, in my opinion. Definitely a big boon on the side of Wisdom Academy, subbing him in an amazing call.
Oh, yes. I think it's just kind of how he works. He's very integral to the team, and I know for a fact that they often play with him. He's a very good player. He's very calm heavy, and he can kind of help move things around when they want to be going into these fights, and I think that just kind of caught Rio a bit off guard. Their momentum completely changed. However, momentum is something you're going to need, especially for the next map, which is specifically Gibraltar. And I really like Gibraltar, solely because it can be one of those maps where it's very dive heavy, and it's until that last point where it's very brawl heavy, but it changes how you want to play the game, and it often can kind of, it's really either full holdy, you know, or you just barely push yourself all the way out to the final area.
Absolutely. We've seen both sort of match styles coming out from both of these teams. We've seen the full holds on point A, and we've seen full push throughs from both sides. So we're absolutely going to have an interesting fight on our hands. We do have another substitution coming through on the side of Wisdom Academy, as Sergeant Pepper is being replaced by Next, the latest addition to the roster of Wisdom Academy. So what are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. So Next is a player that I don't know who the heck this person is. They randomly got signed to Wisdom Academy, and I was so confused when it happened because I don't know who this player is. So they're bringing in someone who's completely random and completely new to this type of environment and is going to try to bring it out. So I definitely think that's kind of, it's risky, you know? Either this player is here to pop off and make a name for themselves, or it's just a kind of a throw pick. They're just letting someone who sits the roster just try to play in, and I can't really give something out of it. I have no idea who they are, so seeing them play is going to be something different. So, but I think that gives Real Redemption a bit more of an advantage because now they're playing with someone they're not fully used to. They only signed him last week, so it's going to be a new type of, I guess, playstyle you want to go into, but it hopefully shouldn't change too much.
Well, I think the thought process that you're having right now is the exact thought process that Wisdom Academy is trying to provoke out of Rio. That unknown factor, that unknown seventh man. We've got this new player here. We signed him last week. What do you think? And Rio's over there going, well, we don't know what we think. And that could be the whole point. Maybe it could just be, you know, hey, he's new. Let's get him some playtime, see how he does. But I mean, it could absolutely just be that we're there. It's a head game, trying to get into Rio Redemption's mind, trying to throw them off, and you know, just maybe knock them off their game. Especially now that the momentum is on the side of Wisdom Academy. You know, you want to do what you can to keep it that way.
Yeah, we do see a bit of an issue as just Wisdom Academy ends up stopping it or something. I don't know. They're having communication issues when it comes to picking out what side they want to be on, which is comparably funny. So that may cause some frustration. Honestly, it could cause some frustration when you're in a lobby and this type of stuff happens, but they're going to be coming back up either way, so it's not really that big of an issue, but I'm excited to see. I mostly suspect kind of double bubble, dive, anything where a monkey can just yeet himself in and he can just kind of shut people down. That's what you tend to do, you know what I mean? But I really kind of can see snipers too. Spongy Cheese is fairly known when it comes to being able to play out any type of Widowmaker, Ashe, McCree. He's doing fairly decent today, not as good as he normally does, but still not bad.
Absolutely. This is, especially this first point, with these nice wide open sight lines. I fully expect to see a little bit of sniper play, at least in here. And Spongy Cheese, you know, like you had said, there it is. We're seeing him on the Ashe already. And RQT, currently on that Widow, might not see him staying that way, but I am certainly looking forward. There's nothing I love more than a nice, good sniper duel.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. Bit confused out because of the fact that Wisdom Academy, they want to run out with an Ashe, but an Ashe with a Brig. And that's weird because the hit scan changes not only make Ashe a weaker character in general, but without a damage boost, why are you not just running a Widowmaker? As they have a higher, like, kind of damage consistency and better angles and size. Sure, you're sacrificing the dynamite, but is it really that much? Because Polar is going to be able to get more done if he switches to Ashe or Tracer, and RQT basically has a pocket in the air, so really what is there to stop them or really contest them?
Well, I guess we're about to find out with Polar sending his team across the way with that teleporter before swapping onto Tracer. The engagement here on the bridge as the damage comes out. Titanic finding that first pick onto Gordo, but Sam Knight, playing the role of veterinarian, picks the monkey right back up, gets him back into the fight. So we're still sitting here on a 6v6. The cart is moving along, courtesy of Polar, as Wisdom Academy trying to do what they can to find another early pick. The team's engaging right here, next trying to get in, do some damage, fly out, and he does do just that, find the damage onto TIE Fighter. A Spongy Cheese eliminates Senile Apple to get this back onto the track of a 5v6. TIE Fighter looking very dangerously low, but he gets healed back up from his supports.
Yeah, they can push this payload all they want, but the issue stems that Wisdom Academy are sitting here, staggering them one by one. Sure, they get that payload moving, but look how much ult charge they provided for the entirety of Wisdom Academy.
Oh, next, P-Box, Spongy, everybody, Rock Crash, they are spreading out the love, everybody getting some damage out, everybody getting some eliminations out. TIE Fighter going all the way to the edge of the cliff, going, diving, trying to get that mech back, so it's going to be a little bit, good stagger.
Yeah, I mean, that is gonna slow down how they want to engage, but Titanic has the Nano Nexus coming up. They have so many ultimates being built up that I barely think that this is a good area for them to be able to kind of contest and be able to push in whatever way they want. Real Redemption have to play a bit more sporadic and careful while they wait to build up any form of abilities, and they even stopped the C9 that was trying to happen.
Yeah, Wisdom Academy being very aware of their surroundings. As the Nano comes online for Senile Apple. Spongy Cheese throwing in Bob, who decides to take a nap. Going to lay down. Not really much that he can do in that point as the members of Rio Redemption get off of the bridge. Angry Monkey being thrown in. A double duplication coming out. Both Echoes becoming the Diva. Rockcraft throwing in the self-destruct. Spongy Cheese takes down Sam
They don't
Knight,
realize the C9, by the way.
But RQT. But there it is. The back cap. Polar. You're nasty. He's got those stealth boots on. Sneak increased to 56. The eliminations are rolling through for Wisdom Academy, but it doesn't really mean much because the point's already been capped. The good spawn is right here.
I don't know what to tell you. Wisdom Academy should have been expecting it. Polar tried it 3 different times, or some level of that, and they just let him have it. They were winning the fight, or at least stalling it out, but that's gonna hurt. They're probably very frustrated to just let that happen and lose their chance of a full hold.
They did also let Wisdom Academy they threw a lot of ults in that last fight, so the ultimate economy here is in favor of Rio Redemption as Gordo takes out Rockcrafts of the mech. Sam Knight with that Valkyrie about to wear off. TIE Fighter finding the double kill onto the DPS and then getting the squish kill onto his clone of Rockcrafts. Rio Redemption is going to keep this point rolling along as P-Bot gets angry, very, very angry, trying to do what he can to stall out, but it doesn't work as he runs away, drops his bubble, and TIE Fighter runs in and sends him out with a knuckle sandwich. Well fed is he. And they're going to have to regroup here as the point is approaching the point B capture. They're engaging right over here on the top portion. The point going in. There it is. Rockcraft's managing to jump on and stop it from going in as the tanks of Rio Redemption get hit with that anti-grenade. TIE Fighter being demexed and RQT going to sleep. Wisdom Academy is establishing a foothold on this point, doing what they can to hold on to it as TIE Fighter gets dropped from Rockcraft. Senile Apple throwing out the Nano onto Gordo as RQT and Senile Apple fall. Wisdom Academy having the members here to hold on to it, and it's just a matter of cleaning up right here as P-Bot gets nanoed to get the secured elimination onto Gordo.
There are a lot of individual things that not only helped them win, but kind of were a big factor. One, Gag was doing an amazing job appealing for his Ana, who was getting a lot of pressure on, not only by the Winston, but by the Echo. More importantly, Rockstress was able to touch that point, denying them from being able to finish things out. So now you just have to see, but Polar's still waiting for them to kind of go into a fight to C9.
Look at Polar right over there. His sneak increased a level last fight. Let's see if it's going to go up again. The two teams engaging on the top of the ship as RQT eliminates next with those sticky bombs, finding that kill. Polar revealing himself by throwing a couple of bullets into the back of Rockcraft's. Valkyrie coming out from Sam Knight as Gordo going Angry Monkey again, flying in, trying to put some damage out. Rockcraft's with the self-destruct going out as P-Bot eliminates Senile Apple. Rockcraft's going to go ahead and remech. Doesn't find anything with the squish as RQT duplicating the monkey, getting angry himself. Finding the elimination of the Titanic, though, is Gordo, as Rio Redemption having the man advantage in this fight. Big brawl happening right in front of the point. RQT getting the primal kill onto Gag. Rockcreep's evening it up, though, with the pick onto Sam Knight. Next, duplicating the Diva, so we're going to have another self-destruct in the mix coming in. Polar finding Spongy Cheese, but Rockcraft's eliminating Gorgo, keeps the fight even. Self-destruct thrown up by Next, manages to find RQT. Wisdom Academy somehow still holding on to this.
Oh, man, I think at some point, that C9 could have worked. Rockstrap was just hard sitting on that payload until they fully engaged. Then he would go in, but Polar got a bit impatient, just shot him once, and then Rockstrap said, I see you. So now it's an opportunity where Rio Redemption, they're not following up on their ultimates that they're using. They're not really being able to singly target a person, and even when they got both of the supports down, they weren't able to finish it out, specifically because Next had a very amazing copy, brings out those bombs, and now they get an amazing stagger.
60 seconds.
That is going to stop that push dead in the water as Titanic eliminates RQT. Yeah, I thought you gotta respect the 1v1 there. Let the Echoes duke it out in the sky. Come on.
Nope, you'll never let that out. But it's fairly even. The old economy is in favor of Wisdom Academy a tiny bit, but now this is where they look to stagger a bit more.
Oh, Electric Monkey going in with P-Bach as he gets nanoed, gets the early elimination onto Senile Apple. Rio Redemption just losing members early in the fight again. Polar once again trying to get that back cap. They're well aware of it. They say, we can see you. We're rolling some natural 20s on our perception checks over here. There's a little bit of D&D reference for you. Rockcraft switching Polar as RQT swaps over onto the McCree to try and get this last fight going. They have to get in there and touch. Somebody's going to have to sacrifice themselves to trigger that overtime.
It's fully on either TIE Fighter, Gordo, or Polar. Fully respect the D&D reference. I play Tieflings. But now we see them go in. They have a bit more of an ult economy, and they touch this payload. So that Diva Bomb is falling. They're trying to do something cool, but Rockstrap doesn't get it out!
Oh no, Rockcraft's going for the meme, trying to push the self-destruct off the ship, but it doesn't work, and it allows TIE Fighter to get the double kill onto him and Titanic. Spongy Cheese getting purpled as he throws out the pulse bomb, doesn't really find any value. Gag with a whip shot onto RQT, saying, this is a whip shot here for you, Cowboy. Polar eliminating his evil twin. Overtime counter is ticking down. Wisdom Academy brawling in with that rally from Brigitte. Oh no, another self-destruct being thrown in from Next as Polar goes down. Next finding RQT, the members of Rio Redemption are going down. Sending out the Angry Monkey is Gordo, trying to get that extra health pool to stall out the point as long as he can. Oh, Spongy Cheese finding the TIE Fighter though. Wisdom Academy is fully holding on. Rio Redemption, rather, currently has the man advantage, but the members of Wisdom Academy are making it back. Big brawl on point, no eliminations coming through until Gag finds Senile Apple and Next finds Sam Knight. With no supports on the side of Rio Redemption, it is a matter of time before that overtime timer ticks down. With a 1.5 for Rio Redemption, the win condition is set for Wisdom Academy.
There is just no conceivable way that they lose that. They had, what, 4 ultimates that they tried to chuck in and win with, but in the end, they weren't able to finish it out. But more importantly enough, they gave not only time for Next to build up a copy who was around 40-something, but Gag is able to pull out the rally, sustain the team. They hit a nasty ante, and then Rio Redemption just aren't able to focus people out. So while, yes, they get the meme C9, and they managed to pull that into second point, they didn't really push it that far. So while you set yourself up a sizable win condition, you're not winning these fights. You're not being able to hold it out, especially against a new player who has probably less scrim time. I think that says a tiny bit, but I want to see a bit more, not only coming out of Gordo, but just the team. I think Gordo's doing absolutely amazing, and he does an amazing job when he's pushing these players out, but he needs to be pushing them more into his team. We often see him moving those Brigorana far away, outer, and it's kind of costing him a lot more. I think if he pushes them into his own team, or he moves them out of position where they can't see their own team, then, you know, it's going to cause some issues.
You know, one thing I had noticed, the members of Rio Redemption didn't seem like they were really focusing down a target. It seemed like we had a couple of little mini fights going on, a 2-on-2 over here, a 3-on-1 over there. They're going to have to really buckle down and focus down these eliminations if they want to hold on to this point and take Gibraltar. Spongy Cheese doing the Polar, teleporting his team across to get this fight initiated before swapping to the Tracer. Gordo getting brought dangerously low with that anti-grenade, but does manage to stay in the fight long enough, so no eliminations being found yet. The Spongy Cheese is getting that payload moving along, trying to do what he can to get some progress in. P-Bach jumping in, putting a little bit of a tickle fight going down onto the members of Rio Redemption. Titanic getting the healing out, but it doesn't work as RQT manages to find that first pick onto Next. The members of Wisdom Academy down to basically a 4-on-6 now that Rockcraft is being demeched. Gordo jumping onto the bridge, being put to sleep, but it's not going to work as TIE Fighter rolls in, finding Gag. Spongy Cheese eliminating Polar. That card, however, is still moving. The members of Rio Redemption haven't really done anything to turn around and stop it. RQT manages to notice, put out a little bit of damage, not necessarily stop it. It takes TIE Fighter jumping on it to really get the payload to stop. In as he eliminates Rock Crafts.
This fight's still somewhat in a weird area. They managed to pull that payload a bit further, and while Rockcraft is going to be able to come back really fast, they set themselves up. I definitely think it's kind of a slow engage. They need to not lose anyone on the side of Wisdom, but that they're really not stopping it. They're just slowly making the payload go slower.
Next being Cheeky, putting that payload a little bit further forward, as both teams sending out Electric Monkeys to do that increased damage, get the ultimate going. There we go, both Primal Rages are online. Spongy Cheese eliminating Polar to give Wisdom Academy the man advantage in this fight. RQT, however, evening it back up with a 6-on-6 courtesy of Bob. TIE Fighter throwing in his self-destruct. Doesn't find any value, but RQT does manage to find Titanic. Spongy Cheese says a support for support, an eye for an eye, as he hits that pulse bomb on Sam Knight. Gag throwing out that rally to give his team the armor that they need to survive. They're doing what they can to keep this cart moving forward, and it does manage to keep going. Polar sticking Spongy Cheese, however, he is fast enough with his reflexes to blink away from his team, make sure he's the only elimination, as Gordo finds Peabok. Rio Redemption, they're winning the fight. They're getting the man advantage here, stopping Wisdom Academy just short of capturing this first point.
Yeah, I don't know what word to tell you that isn't. That's a massive stagger, by the way, because now Rocktrap has to die.
An absolutely insane stagger. Gordo saw, he smelled blood. He was the shark in the water. He went for it.
Yeah.
They're going to be waiting for that.
This is absolutely dirty because now they have two defensive ultimates going into the support line. But I really think Polar saves out that fight. Not only gets a single pick, but then pulse bomb Spongy Cheese, who is by far a massive threat right now, and brings us into a lesser area to where it's going to be harder for them to try to win this point. But Rockstrap Diva Bomb may prove to be something else.
It might just indeed be that, but the engagement starting here as Sam Knight throws out the rally to give his team a little bit of armor, a little bit of extra sustained stopping power. Gordo jumping in as he gets nanoed, but a self-destruct being thrown in from Rockcraft doesn't find any value. The self-destruct does not, but the remake does as he manages to squish down Polar. Wisdom Academy now has the man advantage to push in, and the ultimate economy is sort of in the favor of Rio Redemption, but we will be evening that up in the fight. RQT demacking Rockcrafts though, so that's going to even everything back up. Dynamite comes out, taking down next with the help of TIE Fighter. Wisdom Academy is pushing that cart forward. Peabok throwing out the Primal as his health bar gets dangerously close to zero. He manages to stay alive, but RQT taking down Gag in the process. Big anti-grenade finding Gordo as he hits Primal, and then he gets slept. TIE Fighter throwing out that self-destruct to zone out the members of Wisdom Academy. Gordo squishing Spongy Cheese with that jump as Rockcraft manages to find Sam Knight. RQT taking down PMAC, and Titanic taking down Polar is just going to be trade after trade after trade. These teams are managing to keep the fight pretty even. As Gordo eliminate Rockcrafts though, that gives Rio Redemption the man advantage. The man advantage, too much alliteration here is just frying my brain, Intel.
Yeah, I think the issue really comes into next. They aren't really building up their ultimate fast enough, nor were they really staying into the fight, but someone has to touch, and it looks like it's going to be Spongy.
Overtime being triggered from Spongy Cheese. Adaptive Circuits engaged next, taking on Diva. Getting nanoed is Rockcrafts. However, Gag being dropped from the pulse bomb as he drops his rally. That's an ultimate that Wisdom Academy is going to want back. Rockcraft's finding two as Next throws in the self-destruct. Wisdom Academy are getting the picks here. They might be able to push this in. They lose Titanic in the process, but honestly, the man advantage that they have over Rio Redemption is really showing right now. Sam Knight going down as the point unlocks for Wisdom Academy. Next being dropped, but it's fine. His respawn is right there. A stagger is going to be found onto RQT. And then Polar demecking Rockcrafts. Is he going to get away? Are they going to let him get away with this? They are not. That is going to be a big stagger for Wisdom Academy.
No, I think the big area you want to pay attention to was the fact that Next was making a lot of room. And Rockcraft took advantage of it combined with this team and given them room to be able to fight this next fight. So the payload's in a winnable condition, but I think that Rio Redemption don't want to lose this very easily.
Oh, a lot of crowd control coming through onto Peabok, getting slept, getting shield bashed, getting grenaded. Whipshot taking down Next, and RQT taking down Rockcrafts. Wisdom Academy only managing to push it about halfway before they get stopped in their tracks. But you have to look at that ultimate economy, though, on both sides, especially with Rockcrafts getting back in the mech right now. Wisdom Academy might have what they need to take it. Oh, and I might have spoke too soon as the stagger onto Spongy Cheese is found.
That's just rude. I mean, Spongy was still overstaying his welcome by turning around and poking, which, I mean, it wasn't gonna do anything regardless, but he ends up making himself a bit too more noticeable. But now it's time for an opportunity to where they try to shut this down. Wisdom Academy have ultimates, Rio Redemption has ultimates, but Rio has shown to not be able to use, never mind, they managed to get out Gag, but sometimes they struggle to use these ultimates. But more importantly, look at that payload. They noticed. Never mind.
They noticed it. The C9 not really going through. Gag, I gotta throw an honorable mention to Gag, playing superhero right there. Peabot getting slept, and Polar rolls in to try and get that pulse bomb onto the sleeping monkey, and Gag, Mr. President, get down, catches the pulse bomb on his shield. However, he drops his shield in the process. It gets taken down. That timer is ticking down as these two teams begin to engage. The tanks of Wisdom Academy jumping onto the spaceship, managing to eliminate Sam Knight. Self-destruct coming out from Rockcraft, taking out the bubble of Gordo as he gets nano, tries to get into the fight. Bob being thrown in courtesy of RQT. Pulse Bomb doesn't really find any value from Spongy Cheese as Rockcraft takes down Senile Apple. Bob was removed from next. But Gordo and Polar evening things back up. Rockcrafts and Peabot, once again though, taking down eliminations. We're trading. This seems to be a recurring theme that these two teams just trade after trade after trade. Wisdom Academy though is taking the man advantage here. They're pushing that card in next with the duplicate Primal Rage, making some space. That payload is approaching the point. Are we going to make it? TIE Fighter going in, managing to touch it and contest as he throws it into self-destruct. He does find Rockcrafts after being dropped by Peabot. RQT coming in with the Doomfist. The stalls are coming out as the overtime counter begins. Spongy Cheese taking down RQT, showing off RQT's lactose intolerance. Wisdom Academy going to do what they can to fight as the rally comes out from Sam Knight, giving his team the armor to survive. Gag onto that Lucio being taken down from Polar. Pulse Bomb comes out, but it doesn't find any value as it gets blocked by the bubble. A lot of tickle fight coming down from here on the Winstons. Gordo managing to get next with that arcing damage. TIE Fighter taking down Peabot. Rio Redemption making it look easy as they just drop the members of Wisdom Academy, holding it just shy and pushing themselves into the 2-1 lead. Oh, wow. That was a fight. That was a fight and a half.
And this is really what you expect coming out of both of the tier top titans. Not only was Rio Redemption able to kind of bring it back because of the fact that Wisdom Academy took too long to end that fight, and they were able to start coming back, and they kind of had to call some ultimates to do it. That's what really ended it for them. But it was a good opportunity. Wisdom Academy have not shown themselves to be a weak team, but Rio Redemption have not shown themselves to give these things up. I definitely think they're kind of equal out, and it's going down to the individual kind of play styles of how these teams want to do. Definitely think Next did amazing, but during those like kind of attacking pushes, I definitely think that's kind of what cost them at times. So now we're going to Assault, and we're going to give them a moment to kind of talk things out. But my goodness, has it been amazing so far. Both of these teams wanting to be amazing.
These teams, I swear, we are seeing Overwatch League quality play here. Both of these teams, the mistake is just instantly capitalized on by the other team. I mean, Peabot managing to, anytime Gordo just came in and got in his face, despite being, two Winstons putting out the same damage output onto each other, they're just, Peabot doing everything he can to keep his team alive, being the stone shield that Wisdom Academy needed. However, Rio Redemption with TIE Fighter and RQT just, they're packing the C4 right there, just demolishing the stone wall that Wisdom Academy is setting up. That doesn't say, though, that Wisdom Academy isn't going down without a fight. I mean, that is a loss that they have nothing to be ashamed of right there, in my opinion. They fought hard. They fought tooth and nail. And despite giving up the bat cap of the C9, they really made Rio Redemption work to take the victory on Gibraltar, especially on that last push, getting it a meter. You hate to see it coming that close. TIE Fighter self-destruct, zoning out, getting the picks that he needed. But I don't think, if it wasn't for that, I don't think we would be seeing a 2-1 on the side of Rio. I honestly think it would have gone the other way because Wisdom were definitely there for the fight. They brought their A game. That wild card of Next might have been everything that they needed to throw Rio Redemption off just enough.
I definitely agree. But I kind of think, what is it? They should be ashamed of that, mostly because they had Spongy Cheese on their team, besides from me just wanting to be a bit memey. I think you definitely would have won that when it cut, but you let the back cap. I think Wisdom Academy needs to take a step back. They're getting a bit too kind of focused to where they're getting tunnel vision. They're not being able to focus things out, and they're not being able to play at the best that they can. I think that they have an opportunity to win this out because 2CP gives you those moments, especially on Hanamura, which is kind of some people's most hated map, but I think that gives you an opportunity to be able to play the way you want to play and kind of open things up, and that's what I want to see coming out of these teams, especially with a side swap to where Rio can full hold and have a amazing kind of condition to win.
Absolutely. And, one thing that I had noticed near the end of that fight on Gibraltar was, as I had originally said, Rio Redemption seeing like they're taking, a bunch of different smaller fights, two on two here, 3-on-1 over there. Wisdom Academy actually seemed like they kind of dropped the ball at the end of that last push though, and their attention kind of, like you had said, they were tunnel visioning. They were having absolutely the coordination that they needed. Everybody jump and collapse on this person to take them down and eliminate them. But when that person wasn't falling, and there was another weaker individual who could have been eliminated over to the side, it was nope, we're taking down that one right there. This is not going to be happening. And that tunnel vision did, as you had said, it wound up costing them at the end of that match. Now, as you had mentioned, we are going to be seeing Hanamura coming up on our Assault 2.CP map, and we are going to see substitutions. I'm fumbling all over my words. These matches have just had me so excited. This is absolutely a nail biter of a series. We are going to see some substitutions coming through on both sides. Now, actually, sorry, I am overstepping myself. We are only going to be seeing a substitution coming through on this side. No, we do see both sides. Polar is going to be coming back in for Rio Redemption, and Wisdom Academy, they're pulling out a couple of swaps here. Sergeant Pepper is coming back in for next, and Titanic was originally swapped out for Skylar. It looks like they decided to keep Titanic in the match.
Little bit, I think you kind of want to keep Titanic in. He's not been a bad influence. I think he's been benefiting them more often than not, to where they're doing amazing somewhat. But I think what you kind of want to worry about a bit more is just not if Sergeant Pepper's is going to be able to kind of stop this, but how are you going to be able to bring this back? Also, I want to give a warm welcome to everyone who came over for the Geo stream. As if you for you, Bramble, they are going to be rescheduling that match and starting back up on King's Row another time. So Geo right now have a kind of 1-up lead, but we won't be seeing them play until next time around. You know what I mean? But either way, going back into the next match, by the shout out V, I'm with your mans.
Thank you, sir. Now, now to go back to what you had said about bringing in Sergeant Pepper on Rio Redemption, I think that based off of the playstyles alone, not necessarily seeing, hearing the comms and seeing the scrims and everything, Sergeant Pepper and Titanic have really, in their playstyles, established themselves, to me at least, as sort of the compass of Wisdom Academy. Titanic absolutely being what they needed in their last match when they took the victory. It definitely seemed like anytime Titanic was dropping the window, getting the damage out, getting the sleeps out, the team would be able to turn and focus on him. So having that shot caller from the back, that wide open aerial view, that somebody who could see the whole field telling you what to do, very helpful. But Sergeant Pepper, in the middle of the fights, there's nobody that I see manage to keep a calmer head and manage to just track so seamlessly and effortlessly from one target to another as Sergeant Pepper does. So Wisdom Academy definitely, I think, going to see a lot of benefit from having both of these members in at the same time. Rio Redemption having the same thing, but they've got that front line, that spearhead. Gordo and TIE Fighter are just two of the most synergistic tanks that I have seen here in League Zero. They have managed to just hold on to each other, keep each other up into a fight. I like to imagine the get help scene from Thor Dark World, Gordo just throwing TIE Fighter into people. My brother needs help, and taking everyone else down. The damage output from those two alone is insane. And when you have the rest of Rio Redemption backing behind them, they are a well-oiled machine. So Wisdom Academy, having Sergeant Pepper and Titanic, I think, is the answer to try and match the powerhouse that is currently Rio Redemption.
Definitely can agree to kind of some of those ideas, and the fact that Rio, for a fact, have been playing absolutely amazing. So, I want to see what they end up doing on Hanamura. Hanamura is one of those maps that has an interesting playstyle. It's reliant on SimTP, but, every team knows about it. So I wonder how they're going to be able to stop it out, especially kind of how vermouthil this kind of map is, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I know in my own personal history of competitive matches, I'm more thrown off when Hanamura does not see Symmetras as opposed to when it does. And seeing both of these teams pull out Symmetras, we're definitely going to be seeing a bit of a brawl comp. Both of these teams are going to be expecting each other's strategies. And so we're going to have to see what happens here as the doors open and Rio Redemption begins to wrap around to the right side, getting set up for their Symmetra teleporter. Sergeant Pepper, look at that ultimate, managing to get a little bit of a charge in, as the teams engage on the point with those symmetric teleporters. Immortality Field comes down from Senile Apple and gets immediately destroyed. The turrets from Sgt. Pepper are managing to put in a lot of work. Look at the symmetric ult charge difference. Gag taking down Gordo to get this fight going. As Sgt. Pepper takes down Sam Knight. TIE Fighter getting dangerously low. That's about to be a DMAT coming through, and there it is. Sgt. Pepper fighting back, managing to take down Sam Knight. But Rio Redemption are just pulling through the eliminations that they need. Oh, there's the Mei wall blocking off the team. It is going to let them get away.
Yeah, honestly, I think not only did Wisdom Academy kind of predicted they do a massive amount of damage the moment they teleport in, but then they shut them down. And that's really going to cost you. Sure, you have your ultimates now, but similarly, Wisdom Academy have it. And I feel like this is kind of a moment where you need to change things up, try new ideas, and try a new phenomenon of microscopic symptoms, you know?
Absolutely, absolutely. One thing I want to point out, as much as Sgt. Pepper took the lead in ultimate charge there for the Symmetras, it was Polar who got his ultimate online first. Sgt. Pepper, however, decides to throw his out first, being answered by Polar's, the two walls running mostly parallel, having a little bit of an intersect. An amplification matrix coming down from Titanic, trying to allow his team to get that extra damage output. As Rockcraft takes down Sam Knight, that's going to have Wisdom Academy getting the man advantage. However, RQT throwing out the Blizzard and Rockcraft's answering with the self-destruct. Gag with the sound barrier to keep his team alive, but it's not going to be enough. Titanic taking down Gordo. Rio Redemption are getting the picks that they need to take the point. However, Sgt. Pepper saying, I'm not done here. Wisdom Academy might be able to hold on to this point. They certainly will be holding on to the point. Yep, there it is. Polar going over the edge into the drink, followed closely by Sam Knight. You gotta have parachutes if you're gonna go skydiving, my friends.
Honestly, the Wisdom Academy had to use an arm and a leg to try to stop that push because they used Diva Bomb, Sound Barrier, they popped out Shatter, and comparably, it's not really that big of an issue, but I think the issue comes from the fact that not only does Sam have an ultimate, but so does Pineapple. And now you have to worry about how they're going to engage into this fight, especially because they don't have a Symmetra anymore. So it's all about rotations. However, Gordo is stuck out alone.
Getting stuck out, manages to waste the Deadeye from Spongy Cheese. Oh, Sam Knight dropping that sound barrier to try and keep his tank alive, and it does work. Gordo sitting at about half health. The Senile Apple throws down the amplification matrix. It gets blocked off by Sgt. Pepper's walls, however, as Spongy Cheese takes Gordo down, again giving Wisdom Academy the early hold in this fight. Rockcraft's taking out Senile Apple. Even the support of Titanic managing to get involved, get the eliminations. Sam Knight tossing himself over the edge at the back of the map. And Rio Redemption coming down on a minute left. They're going to have to change something up if they want to take this point.
My goodness, just the initiative that Wisdom Academy has been taking, and kind of a small mistake that Gordo made cost them a lot into those ideas, really stops them from being able to kind of push it out, and that's going to be a big issue. So hopefully they can make something happen. That's why they go on to the Pharah, so they can kind of put out some burst damage, but they're looking for something they don't have the time for.
Titanic dropping that amplification matrix just in an effort to dissuade the members of Rio Redemption from coming in, and it also manages to find that pick onto Sam Knight. That's a big stagger that Rio Redemption cannot afford to have right now. They managed to get back together, get re-engaged with that Guardian Angel. Is going to get her in pretty quickly. Now, here we go. The phase of the poke damage is coming out. TIE Fighter has that self-destruct online, but Spongy Cheese has the Deadeye as RQT's Barrage gets ready. Here we go. Spongy Cheese saying, set your clocks, everybody. Here we go. Is he going to find anything with it? He does not. Gag dropping the sound barrier, getting his team many shields to let them engage. Wisdom Academy, however, just mopping the floor with Rio Redemption. RQT doesn't even get that barrage off before his team just gets eliminated, and a full hold on Hanamura sets Wisdom Academy up to tie us up at 2-2.
Man, my only reaction for that is really just the letter J. I think it's absolutely amazing how they engaged on that, and I think Rio Redemption played a bit too passively. They had a Pharah, they could take angles, take those opportunities, but they didn't have the ultimates to be aggressive. So now we're back in a scenario where Wisdom Academy has full health, and they could definitely win us out, bring us into a Mat 5, but I'm wondering how they're going to want to do that. Obviously, they're wanting to probably take a teleporter strategy, but Rio Redemption has scrimmed against it. Every team scrims against it. Every team knows how to play against it. So my idea is, do you just go out on it? Do you play something different? What do you want to do? And it looks like they don't really care, as Rio Redemption are rather going to play big burst and spam with that Junkrat to try to shut them down, rather than just really trying to beat them out with the teleport strategy that Wisdom Academy end up using.
Attackers incoming.
Honestly, I think at this point, Rio Redemption's only hope is to just be prepared for that teleporter and try to break it as fast as possible to split the members of Wisdom Academy and try to take two separate 6-on-3 fights. If they can manage to pull that off and repeat it time and time again, they've got it in the bag. But that may just be a tall order because it's going to take that strategy to work once before Wisdom Academy is going to just look to teleport somewhere else where Polar is not.
3,
Yes.
I'm so glad I didn't bet you any money that we were going to a map 5 because it definitely looks like that is going to be a case with Wisdom Academy only needing a certain tick.
We both knew this was going to be happening, but now it's an opportunity to see how they try.
Teleporter comes out, sending the members of Wisdom Academy over to the right side of the attacker's point. Polar managing to get the first pick on the Spongy Cheese, courtesy of that bear trap. As Junkrat says, you should watch your step. Immortality Field coming down for both teams, getting eliminated, with P-Bach dropping from Polar as well. Polar managing to keep Rio Redemption in the fight right now. There it is, Senile Apple taking down Sergeant Pepper, and Wisdom Academy is on the retreat. Sergeant Pepper throwing that teleporter out to get his supports out of there, and it's a lost fight right there.
That hurts. Polar being on Junkrat is so powerful. Just shoots into one area, has to turn off the brain, and is able to build up that Riptire into one fight. And you can't shut that down, then what are you gonna do? Sergeant Pepper is gonna switch over to the Mei to kind of isolate out Gordo, and it gives them room to be able to play the way they want to play. But now that Riptire is coming out, and this may end the fight.
Riptire coming in, manages to find the Immortality Field, and it finds Sergeant Pepper! RQT taking down Titanic, Spongy Cheese doing what he can, fighting back, taking down Sam Knight, but it's not going to work. TIE Fighter and Gordo, the tanks of Rio Redemption, getting some damage out there. Rockcraft's getting demeched on the edge, deciding to send himself down for a nice little leisurely fall to get back to his team. Rio Redemption are holding on, and with the Self-Destruct, the Earth Shatter, Amplification Matrix, and Bob going to be coming online in this next fight, they have the ultimate economy to continue to hold on to this point and win these fights. But with RQT finding that early pick on the Sergeant Pepper, this push might already be over for Wisdom, but they are committing an Amplification Matrix coming down for Titanic, but no healing goes through it fast enough to keep P-Bach up. Spongy Cheese manages to take down Polar, and Bob comes in courtesy of RQT, managing to get that extra point presence. Gag dropping the sound barrier to keep his team alive. Self-Destruct going out from Rockcrafts. Does he get anything with the remake as Gag sends RQT over the edge? Deadeye coming out from Spongy Cheese doesn't find anything. Gag with another boop onto Sam Knight as the Self-Destruct from TIE Fighter takes down Gag. Spongy Cheese, however, still getting more eliminations, demecking TIE Fighter. And Mortality Field coming down from Senile Apple as they're about to knock him over the edge. And that's all it's going to be. We are going to a map 5, ladies and gentlemen, and Wisdom Academy are going to take Hanamura.
Okay, so they kind of win that fight out because they forced Rio to accidentally make mistakes. Wisdom Academy's mentality was, hey guys, we got first pick. Let's run in there. They're low on people. It's going to take them longer to come back in. Let's just go get some value out of it. And it worked, technically, because they didn't really lose the fight, but it didn't really help them out, you know what I mean? So at least they win Hanamura. They didn't really have much to worry about. Also, big shout out to Gag. He not only booped off their Lucio and booped off the Bob, and the Bob would have been absolutely amazing, but then he kind of ran himself into a Diva Bomb, and that's what really cost issue in the end, and it's absolutely hilarious. But now we're going back onto Control. This will be a different Control map than we started out on, so really, what do you think? What do they do? Because Wisdom Academy lost 2-0 last time.
Oh, this is going to be, just to reiterate something that I had said earlier, this has been a nail-biter of a match. It is going to continue to be a nail-biter of a match. Honestly, I think Wisdom Academy has their win condition already with Titanic and Sergeant Pepper. If I'm Rio Redemption, you have to look to change something up. You know, there's something that's not working with regards to this match that we've just lost in the match before that. However, if I'm Rio Redemption, I'm also going into this map 5 confident because, as you had said, we took round 1 2-0 on in the first round of this series. So both of these teams definitely have. Wisdom Academy have the momentum of they just picked up the last win. Rio Redemption has the momentum of we picked up the win on the last Control map. I am expecting nothing short of 3-round 99-99 both times from both of these teams.
Yeah, but more than anything, going out onto Lijiang Tower, that's going to be our final map for tonight. Definitely think this is extremely crucial. I can't say that any one of these teams have the advantage. I could say, you know, oh, they have Rio Redemption, they look really good on the Brawl. They've seen to play Junkrat very well. Wisdom Academy, however, they can play the same thing, and I think it's really just a Sergeant Pepper difference. Now, when having this guy in, they have been able to full hold twice, while being able to bring things into kind of a standstill, and I think that's just kind of showing how much synergy Wisdom Academy is putting in. But now I'm worried to see how they go out. Both of these teams need just a moment to breathe, take it in, and be prepared, no Jerry, as we just want to see how they manage to bring this out. And what do you think it's going to cut down to? Players' talent, individual ability, all those kind of ideas.
Absolutely. As much as work as we've seen being put in from the tank line, as much work as we've seen being put in from the DPS of both teams, I think this match is going to come down to the supports. Titanic having questionably the highest healing output that we've seen out of the sports that have played so far. Gag having an amazing amount of utility. But when I see the ultimate economy, that is all in favor of Rio Redemption. Sam Knight and Senile Apple just throwing ultimates left and right like they've just got their pockets full of them. And that's what I think it's going to come down to, is which of these support lines are going to have the better synergy, which of them are going to manage to get their ults online, get more value out of their abilities and their ultimates, just basically who's going to keep their team up longer, because that's what's going to determine who's managing to find these eliminations and who's going to take this map 5.
Now, I see what you mean. Also, little heads up for anyone curious. Geo versus Fortunate Sons most likely will be taken up on Monday. If I get something official before we end, I will definitely announce that out. Just want to keep you guys updated with the possibilities of what's going on. However, we are now setting sides. It really doesn't matter who picks sides. So, really, I think there are two people to look out for when it comes to these fights. And that's specifically, well, not two people, but two roles, the DPS and the tank line. I think the support line right now are decently even. I can't say Gag's better than Pineapple or Titanic's been doing more than Sam. I think they fairly, well, they're not same roles, but I think they've fairly been doing very equal, and they've been doing amazing. But I think when it comes to these tanks, they're taking one over each other, and I think that's kind of who you want to look out for. We need to see these teams go above and beyond if they want to be able to finish this out, especially on this point where it can set the momentum for the rest of the game.
Absolutely. Night Market is one of the, in my opinion, one of the most fun maps to play on Lijiang Tower. However, at the same time, it is absolutely not the map that you want to start on, because as you said, this round determines the momentum for the rest of Lijiang Tower. And with the Symmetras are absolutely going to be coming out on both teams. So we're going to be looking at those, whoever gets their teleporter down first, to let their team establish, control, a presence on the point. That's where we're going to see these eliminations coming through. Last time you and I managed to cast a match together, however, Sergeant Pepper's Doomfist was just sending people into walls left and right. I mean, the end of Lijiang Tower looked like the attackers beginning on Numbani with just bodies and Orisas in walls everywhere. And so this Doomfist fight that we're going to have between Sergeant Pepper and RQT, that's what my eyes are going to be on. That's what I'm going to try to be watching.
Oh, I agree! It's time for these teams to bring it out. The Doomfist first initial punch will be the most important.
And Sergeant Pepper, just like last time, getting that first pick with his Doomfist, sending Polar careening into the wall, and then dropping his mirror of RQT, saying, I am the better Doomfist, I am the World Heavyweight Champion. There we go. Wisdom Academy is just pushing back Rio Redemption immediately. They are going to be taking this first point, and the momentum is all in favor of them, as RQT immediately swapping off of that Doomfist onto Mei to slow down Sergeant Pepper.
Yeah, I definitely agree. That punch really is just kind of what ends it out. It was an opportunity that they were able to win, and it's really what shuts them down. So now they need to kind of prepare of what they want to do. You know what I mean? It's an opportunity where these teams can shut it down. However, they need to go through this small choke where Doomfist thrives off of.
Oh yes, these small, narrow corridors are not where you want to be when there's a Doomfist on the other side. Amplification Matrix online for both teams, as well as Earth Shatters. Gordo throws his out first, but he gets taken down as Rockcrafts manages to find one pick after another. Sergeant Pepper squishing Polar with Meteor Strike coming through. Doesn't find any value though, but he doesn't need to because the rest of the team is already fallen around them. Wisdom Academy only having to commit 2 ults there and costing Rio Redemption 2 ults in the process. There's definitely, I mean, to quote Doomfist himself, they're having a good day.
Oh, I definitely see what you mean. Just having to be a bit more cautious. They do switch over to the Reaper. They're going to be putting in a lot more damage. Now I like what they're doing. They're fighting in their win condition. They play in the small area, enable Sergeant Peppers to walk in, but now they have 3 ultimates. So no matter what Rio does, they're being shot at.
All right, an amplification matrix coming down from Titanic and forcing the members of Rio Redemption to go into a narrow funnel. Self-destruct coming out from Rockcrafts, managing to drop the amplification matrix from Senile Apple. Sergeant Pepper again sending Polar into the wall. There's going to be a heated discussion after that between Sergeant Pepper and Polar. How many times are you going to send me into a wall? As many times as I need to, good sir. As Wisdom Academy finds pick after pick to maintain control of this point.
They're still not looking to lose, as Spongy has his window. Comparably, RQT is going to be switching over to the Doomfist, not only to touch that point, but to try to make something happen. However, Sergeant Pepper just seems to be on fire. This window's going to be massive, though.
Big wall coming out from Spongy Cheese, managing to shut the push down just a little bit. Here we go. Overtime is triggered thanks to TIE Fighter getting onto the point. The picks, however, Wisdom Academy managing to just roll down the members that got left behind, and that is going to be it. A self-destruct being thrown out from TIE Fighter to try and buy some extra time, but I can't say this enough, it's not going to be enough. He gets demeched, manages to get taken down. Sergeant Pepper, somebody needs to test this man for performance-enhancing drugs, as he just finds the highest amount of eliminations that I have seen in League Zero, with a final cheeky squish onto Gordo to end round 1.
You know, I think this is a scenario where league staff, especially the novice coordinator, is gonna have to bring this up to staff. That almost looked insane how dominant they were going in, and now Wisdom Academy have the match point. Rio just looked like they couldn't outbeat that Doomfist, and that was a major struggle. I think in those types of scenarios, you switch over to a ball, you try to dive or something, or maybe go far. But now these teams want to walk out into the server rooms trying to beat this. Will Wisdom Academy win? Will Rio Redemption bring it home? This is for you to find out, and make sure you vote right now with the poll, because it is just one team's decision.
Capture the objective.
All right, the door's opening up. Make sure you get those votes in. Here we go, an engagement just outside the server room. Symmetra turrets and Junkrat mines being thrown across the field to both sides. Oh, and Reinhardt shield going down. Sergeant Pepper managing to get that first pick onto Polar, sending a concussion mine into the members of Rio Redemption, popping them up in the air like a beach ball. P-Bach taking down Senile Apple's Immortality Field. The members of Rio Redemption are being pushed back to their spawn already. Point unlocks. And here we go with Gag managing to get the point captured and start taking up the progress. Titanic with an amplification matrix online already before the ultimate is even before the point is even unlocked. Rather, Senile Apple, however, not too far behind, managing to get his online. But I want you to look at those Symmetra ults right there. Spongy Cheese already coming up online with that massive Symmetra wall as Titanic drops the amplification matrix. Polar only sitting down at 60%. That right there is basically going to be a one fight in favor of Wisdom Academy. Earth Shatter coming down from P-Bach as the members of Rio teleport in and immediately get stopped. An amplification matrix comes down, but it doesn't work as Sergeant Pepper manages to find Polar. Spongy Cheese following up. Rockcrafts taking down RQT. Rio Redemption being stopped cold. They're starting to sweat.
Yeah,
what are they going to do to get in here?
It's not the worst. They got 2 ultimates out of those kind of equaling fights, and RQT, Sergeant Pepper, have the Riptire, so it's how they want to engage onto the high ground. Seems RQT wants to be the first one.
2 tires coming out from both sides. RQT's tire not really going to find any value as it gets taken down from Spongy Cheese's turrets. Sergeant Pepper managing to take down his mirror with RQT. Big Symmetra wall coming down in this little side conference room. Imagine the executives having to clean up in here when everything is done. An amplification matrix coming down from Senile Apple manages to push the members of Wisdom Academy back. However, Titanic comes online with his, manages to throw it up, but a massive shatter from P-Bach manages to find 2 picks for the side of Rio Redemption. Gordo managing to get eliminated in the process, but Rio Redemption now have the man advantage here. They are going to be able to win this fight and push their team onto the point to establish presence.
This was a small individual issue where B-Patch and his team didn't know where to bring themselves, so they ended up splitting up. They shut it down. So Polar's now going onto the Symmetra. However, Sergeant Pepper now has a Riptide, built that thing up like Swiss butter. Rockcraft has the Diva Bomb. They have so much room, and already they're taking an immense amount of damage.
Here we go, the 2 explosive ults coming out from the side of Wisdom Academy. A sound barrier is not going to be enough to protect Senile Apple from that self-destruct. An absolutely beast of a tire managing to find 3 of the members of Rio Redemption. just like last time you and I were casting together, the point was being taken, it was held warm, and Wisdom Academy took it right back. We are now in one fight territory. No ultimates left aside from the self-destruct on the side of Rio Redemption. A quick swap onto Doomfist from RQT. But Polar getting taken down early! Gordo's shield being taken down from those Symmetra turrets. He tries to charge in to get to the point, but it doesn't work. As Gag drops the sound barrier and Spongy Cheese throws down the wall. I was incorrect. We will not be going to a map 3. Oh, and there it is. Overtime timer is ticking down. A Spongy Cheese, big Symmetra wall managing to hold things down. Peabock with eliminations on the side of Wisdom Academy. Rio Redemption is going to be swapping to the stall characters, but it is not going to get to the point in time. Wisdom Academy with an upset on Rio Redemption.
This is no reverse sweep, but you might as well treat it as one, because Wisdom Academy bring this back from the defeat last game against Rio Redemption, and not only win this out, just barely, but in a 2-0, swapping it out completely with Rio Redemption. None of these teams have something to be ashamed of, but Wisdom Academy has something to be proud of.
Absolutely, they put in the work. You can feel the blood, sweat, and tears coming off of this team as they are heading into our last matches next week with a defeat on what some would say is currently the top team in the Novice Division. Wisdom Academy saying, hey, hold on, don't forget about us here.
Yeah, you have something to really discuss in your tier list, boys and girls and all in between. So, please give us at least a bit as we get prepared to kind of have it an interview. But Bramble, I want to give you a second. Do you have anything you want to say listening in before we get ready?
Hold on to your hats, because it's only going to get more aggressive from here.
Ooh, so stay tuned as we will be back with this interview.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the post-game of Wisdom Academy versus Rio Redemption. We have here with us the flex tank of Wisdom Academy, Rockcrafts. Absolutely well-fought, good game, well-deserved victory.
Yeah, it was hard. Tough match.
Definitely was hard, and I kind of want to get some opinions going out of you before I really start the question out. So, how did it feel going into a match against Rio Redemption when last week not last week, but last time you guys fought these guys, you kind of lost, and obviously you didn't have your whole team, and so people were kind of clowning on you guys. But how does it feel to bring it back through a map 5?
It feels good, and I feel like we are proving ourselves with this match. I don't think we're. And I don't think anyone's gonna say that we blew them out of the water, but I think we really showed, especially in those last 2 maps, that we can play Overwatch and we are the best in the league.
I like the confidence. I like the confidence. Now, I want to ask you, Rock. We we had been Intel especially had been very adamant about your remix. It seemed that you were going for a lot of remake kills, and you managed to find a few. Was that part of the strategy from Wisdom, or was that just something that you were doing just to have a little fun?
So at the second map, I DM'd the other off tank, TIE Fighter, and I said, how about we abandon them and we go on flanks for remake kills only? Because our teams need to practice 5v5 for Overwatch 2 without an off tank. So, how about we just go on the flanks for remake kills? I didn't get a response after he said, let me hear you out. I don't know why. Anyway, I decided to do it on my own. And so that's what happened. But actually, many of the times, I actually tried going for remix in hidden spot, like so I don't get killed. And then I get carried away and try going for the kill because it's fun. Because like when I get remixed, I don't want to be out in the open and just get domed. So I try going for a hidden spot, but I forget and I go for the remake kill because it's fun.
Well, you managed to get some value out of them. I saw there was a play of the game that you had after a double kill from your self-destruct. You managed to remake on top of TIE Fighter. And then there were a couple of others where you had managed to pick out a couple of DPS players with 3-mech kills. What was your reaction to seeing the kill feed light up with the remake kills?
See, most off tanks and flex tanks go for eating their abilities, like going for the ult eats. That's what they like. I like the remake kills. That's why I didn't eat a single ultimate. I was just focusing on remaking on them. But there was one kill on the Tracer on Gibraltar where I was just spamming my remake, and I killed them by accident. And I'm not really sure what happened, but I'm pretty sure they dashed into me like midair, and I remake killed them. So I'm kind of sorry because I didn't do it intentionally, but L.
Really true. So I guess for me, I don't really have too many questions. I think you guys did absolutely amazing. So what were you guys doing, and what helped you guys keep up that momentum against Rio? Because I felt like it was a very much back and forth, but do you feel that it's different or anything like that?
Yeah, so our first map we got rolled pretty hard. It was our manager Jeff. He gave us some comps, and we kind of took some liberties on them by accident / not. And so we kind of realized that at the end of the map, and on the next map, we were more strict on our comps, and we just focused up. What we always do is say 0-0. It's a clean match. It's the first map, and we just kind of get our momentum up. I personally walked away from the computer and just walked around my house a little bit. I do that after every loss anyway, and it was, it helped us, and we managed to win that next map. Then after that map, we did lose again, and I did the same thing, and our team kind of just, 0-0. We just gotta go back into it, and each time we do that, we get stronger. So each loss is just us learning. So that's how we do it.
Definitely fairly agree. But Bramble, do you have any lasting questions for our good man Rock Crafts with an S?
It's Wisdom Academy triggering that say in blood, if your defeat makes you stronger. Now going into this, you were both teams were 3-1, with your Wisdom Academy's only loss being to Rio Redemption, and Rio Redemption's loss being against Geometric. So what do you have to say to everybody out there that was to all the naysayers against Wisdom of, oh well, they might both be 3-1, but Rio's loss doesn't count?
I think that a lot of people have that mindset because they didn't really watch the game. And the game against Rio, we had like a 5v6 on one map. It was a terrible game from our side, and I don't think that loss really affected us in any way in the mentals. So I think there's no reason for that game to have any stay on having all our starters in, right? There was that game didn't affect us. It was just a loss with half our starters gone, and we moved on. Personally, me and a couple others on the team hadn't actually lost the map yet because that was our only we have 3-0'd every other game. So I think that should have proven to people that we were consistent and we were able to win. And I think that our first map loss being of the team being without our starters should have showed something. So to people who say that they doubted us, there is no reason to. You're dumb. Plus ratio plus L.
That's amazing. But really, do you have any lasting comments, or you could just go whatever you choose to do? Shout outs, insults, insult Corbs or something.
Well,
Tyler?
I can't insult Corbs. I think I'll get banned. But Rio win, Rio win, Rio win, Rio.
I don't even know what he just said, but he ruined my camera, so give me a second to fix those as I bring this out. Really, Bramble, what are your lasting impressions of that map? Because it was a lot of fun.
It was a very fun match to watch. Wisdom Academy, I mean, they pulled out all the stops, managed to get that victory. They showed they are definitely a force to be reckoned with. I think there were a lot of people who were looking at the novice division and thinking, well, these playoffs are all for show for Rio this season. Wisdom, no, they're planting their flag. They're here to stay. They want that playoff victory here.
I definitely agree. I think this was by far one of my favorite matches to cast within League Zero. Both of these teams going in, setting a name for themselves. So if you enjoyed what you saw, make sure to hit that little heart. It'll make sure to update anytime I go live, and I often will stream out the games continuously for League Zero. You can follow the main channel at League Zero OW. We have a Twitter. You can follow Bramble, who's doing an amazing job of helping us cast here at the kind of production team. But either way, we are so thankful for you being here, and we'll see you next time when it comes to League Zero.